To sincere Christians around the world, I have a message for you.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the stream started out a bit choppy today, and it's still not perfect, still goes into the red, it still cuts off. But it's overall a lot better than yesterday. Yesterday it was just non-stop at 0, 0, 0, completely cut off. It's a lot more in the green now, so still goes into the red, it still cuts off. Right. It's like, oh, it's ridiculous. Okay, well, yeah, maybe it is ridiculous to you, but I mean, I literally did experience like it's ridiculing or whatever. But I mean, that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like, oh, it's ridiculous. Okay, well, yeah, maybe it is ridiculous to you, but I mean, I literally did experience it. And it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not to me. Like, I literally have the scars from it. In my mind. Right? And yeah, it was way too much to actually handle. And I had a whole period after it where I was basically in a giant cognitive dissonance, where I had like two parallel realities that did not match. One was the vision that I could barely even like handle, kept it in the back of my mind, and then there's like the comedy, which like wasn't making a lot of sense anyway, and was really underwhelming and disappointing, where I was just very disappointed with overall my perceptions of humanity, like what humans actually turn out to be on the inside. And I thought, like, wow, world's looking pretty ugly. That's what I experienced after that. And I mean, it's also because it was basically the period after 9/11 when a lot of ugliness started to show itself overtly everywhere in response to everything that was happening. And in response to people saying like, oh, 9/11 was an inside job. Remember that? Remember? Well, a lot of you youngsters out there you don't remember because you were just little. Like, yeah, you're not. Media in the West started to like roll out Muslims are bad, and all that shit, and which is like this whole train of thinking out there, and they just, people that are into that, they cannot see that it is also a form of propaganda, that it really only applies to a very niche group within Islam, and not all of them, as a lot of people like to suggest, because it isn't. It's like saying that like all Christians still do everything that people in the Bible do. Like, no. Because, like, Christians, it's so ironic. A lot of people, and I mean, they're all Christians, by the way. Yeah, I'm not buying that, and I'm pretty sure that the people in modern age like look at that and realize that that's shit in the past. But that sort of thing happened in Christianity too. It's like everybody did that, and it's recognized as like, yeah, that's something that we're not going to do it like that anymore. The world's not like that. And Christians don't associate that sort of thing with their religion. I mean, could you imagine that people from other religions around the world would just go up to Christians and say like, oh, you're all like child marrying crazy fanatics that think that Jesus is literally God, and like, and the Crusades, and like blame everything that was ever like kind of off or whatever onto those Christians, because that's kind of what this anti-Islam propaganda has been doing to Islam. Like, just saying like, oh, they're all like that. Like, no, they are not. Just, I recognize this, and I'm just surprised that there are other people that also recognize this, but there's so many that don't. There's so many that don't actually understand this about it. And there's so many Christians that just believe like, oh, all of Islam is like Christianity, and they want to destroy it, and they want to kill Christians, and like, who comes up with this crap? Like, that's just not true, right? Except for, well, fanatics, which, well, be surprised anybody, are like, and I mean, they attack Muslims too. They attack Muslims of other factions very harshly. So it's like, you can't really say, oh, they're attacking. No, they attack everybody, and they're supposedly on our side in this conflict, on Israel's side basically, and the US. It's not all of them, and should just stop playing into this propaganda. Like, we've been subjected to that sort of propaganda for, well, since 9/11, and maybe before, since the Gulf Wars, even since the late 90s. and I really just hope that everybody's just gonna see through it. And that's not exactly our religion is the enemy, and when we get the chance we'll like kill them or something. Like, yeah, that's pretty fucked up, but that's definitely not all of Islam, right? It's just not what it is, and people in the West just need to like get that straight. I mean, people in the West will definitely recognize that there's a difference in Christianity. Like, yeah, there's the Protestants and there's the Catholics. And it's like, yeah, though in religion, they're not even all that far off from each other. But there was this huge conflict and they just traditionally don't like each other. They won't cooperate. Maybe even like try to politically sabotage each other as groups, and that's it. Well, if we can recognize that, then why can't we recognize that Islam also has those types of divisions that really matter? And I mean, there are fanatical Islamic groups out there, but they're not all like that, and all of them will definitely not fall in line and like suddenly step up to the defense of those fanatical Islamicists that attack everybody, because they would attack those other groups too. So those other groups are not gonna frickin' stick up for them, because it's like, yeah, these Muslims give us a bad name, fuck them, right? So just get it straight. And I mean, none of them are really perfect. Right? But hey, neither are the religions in the West. And it's kind of ironic. Splitting up, having basically internal political conflicts, split up, and then have this constant bickering and friction. And then like the people will be diverted away from the Christ consciousness into the political consciousness against each other, and that is how the people then will see those groups instead of for the wisdom of Christ that they have. And the only way to avoid that is by not being part of a church, but just being Christians as individuals. And where 2 or 3 of us meet is where I am. Like that's the church, not a building, not a registered organization, not even a congregation, regular. Like, yeah, those are separate. And you still do that. Jesus detracts from the purity of Christ's wisdom. That's a big ass article about Easter. It's like 5 pages or something. From Christianity that they do this. Because it's like, yeah, Christ wisdom, right? What he's actually saying. That is like amazing. Like, is it less amazing if he's not literally God incarnate? Will you only accept the wisdom if it's like God incarnate? Or do you just recognize that the wisdom in itself is God? And that is the proof, that the quality of the wisdom and how well it applies and your ability to recognize that is the contact with God. Because that's how I see it. Like, Jesus was not literally God. He's like the closest anybody has ever been to that purity. And that is the connection. That's the connection that anybody can have. And he took it farther than anybody had ever seen. Which and I mean, and then proceeds the anthropomorphization of people's minds. They just like, no, it is literally God, like, and he dies for us, and it's just so confusing, that has relevance to people when it is so obviously the wisdom. The wisdom he gave is right there for the taking, and the power of it in the depths. People barely even grasp that. People barely even grasp the actual power of his wisdom. But yet they need to then deflect their attention to this deification. To this miraculous thing that supposedly were these events. And like, to me, I just don't get it. Like, maybe all of that literally happened. Maybe the resurrection like literally happened. I think like a lot of the lay on hands things definitely happen. That can happen. Like energy, just power. The resurrection story is just undeniable. Like that is astrotheology. The way that it's paced, the timing of it in the year. I mean, sorry, like to then assume that it was completely literally that is undeniable. Like that is astrotheology. The way And so I deflect my attention away from like supposedly God incarnate and to like the thing that is not destroyable, like that the thing that cannot be destroyed, which is the wisdom of what he taught. Like that, you can't destroy that. Like that thing is literally immortal right now, echoing millennia later, and his wisdom still echoes with us right now when we read it, when we talk about it, when we discuss it, when we compare his wisdom to things happening in the world. That is immortal. That's literally what is the immortality of it. As long as there are people to behold and take it in, Jesus' wisdom will live forever. Yeah, and that, I don't know. That is important to me, and I'm again, you want to think that he's literally God and he died horribly and then resurrected before us, right? For as a sacrifice for us, which is weird because that's still default then, but it's the fundamental principle of like we need to make sacrifices to atone for things. Like that is in itself, to me, like that's actually paganism. I don't understand why that needs to be tied in with modern Christian thinking. I don't get it. Like, isn't that the thing that he actually tried to move away from? The person, the one that actually spoke the words. It just seems so odd that he would basically ascend beyond all that old stuff, carefully try to maneuver people's minds away from it, from letting that old crap go, because it doesn't work. And that then afterward, that Jesus made that stop, that his sacrifice is the last sacrifice. When logically, when you think about it, no, that Jesus arriving and telling us it's just stop is the actual ending. Like, why need to be a sacrifice? There never was a need for a sacrifice like that. Like, but yeah, I mean, people still do it, and some people get really hostile if you talk like I do and basically say like, nope, I don't think so. They might even call me a Muslim for it, because the Muslims also think of it like that, which I really respect. I really that about the ones that are actually well studied. Like they know Jesus's wisdom, a lot of it. They know a lot about it. Like, prominent thing about Jesus that stands out to you? And then the average person will reference know Jesus' wisdom, a lot of it. They know a lot about it. Like, prominent thing about Jesus that stands out to you. And then the average person will reference probably like, oh, well, they won't mention it because it's not part of their teaching. They will probably roll out the actual words of wisdom that came out of him and how they apply, kind of like what I try to do. So it's like, oh, you're a Muslim, Arwin. It's like, maybe, but I mean, I don't go around and doing the rituals of Islam. So I'm not really. It's just I really like the way they deal with Jesus. Right? And in that also I very much distinguish people that are supposedly Islamic when often they are not. They're just like Arabs or something that really hate on Jesus, which is very misplaced. If they were really Islamic, they wouldn't do that. But it's probably more tribal, where they just hate the Christians. Not Jesus, but the people here in the West. For how deluded we got. And propagandized against them in ways. They will not be in awe of that. Let's just say it like that. Except if they are like of the fanatics. Yeah, the fanatics that really have no respect for anybody because they're like kind of a cult, and if you're not part of their cult, you're the enemy. Yeah, those people might cheer it on. But yeah, the real Muslims, as I like to think of it as such, they wouldn't do that. They'd be like, yeah, this is not helping anybody. This is not good. Like, you're not respecting the Prophet. You're not respecting Prophet Jesus. Him as a prophet. But they still have their wits, right? And so we're dealing with all this situation in the West, and all these trains of thinking that have been imposed upon us that polarize us. And I'm just trying to show you, like, trying to snap you out of it if you're listening. Like, it's all wrong. Don't fall for it. But also, be careful. Because, like, when you see anti-Islam of them, and some of them will say, no, it is all of them. Yeah, you're a sick fuck. You're a sick fuck if you say that. It's not. They're not all like that at all. There is differences. Yeah. Except, I mean, you know, so is Christianity, though. Or at least it used to be much more. I mean, in medieval times, supposedly with how the Catholic Church went about against other forms of Christianity, that's pretty horrific too. Okay. So just stop it. Stop trying to use these people and another religion as a scapegoat. Just don't do that. But be very careful though. Like, there are factions of that religion, certain people, certain tribes that will be fanatical. There are actual fanatics, and yeah, they are dangerous, and they have absolutely no respect for locals wherever they're going to move in. They're going to try to conquer it. They're going to be very tribal. They're going to try to humiliate everybody that's not part of their tribe. They're being very tribal. You have to be very careful with that, and, well, not let them in your fucking country. Okay. It's really not difficult. If from that tribe, you don't let them into your country. I mean, fuck them. Like, you go sit where you are and you go deal with what you deal with. If they're not gonna adapt, and some will, there are Muslims from other nations that are not so extremely tribal that are, and you go deal with what you deal with. If they're not gonna adapt, and some will, there are Muslims from other nations that are not so extremely tribal, that are civilized, very talented, and they will adapt, and they will be very respectful, and they will be very insightful and great. Good to have around. Welcome. But there are these tribes too that are not like that at all, and you just have to see it's different. They're not guys. They're pretty cool. They're helpful. They have good morals. Right? They're just like Christians are supposed to be, except from another region, manifested in another form. That's really what they're like. And yeah, and you could deal with them. Right, anyway, hope everybody's the show. A lot of it got out again. Hope everybody's having a good Monday, last of the Easter days. If you're out there, I could really use some support. I could really use it. Please support your local Arwin through the PayPal, would be great. I could really. If you're out there, really use some support. I could really use it. Please support your local Arwin through the PayPal, would be great. I could really use it. The Patreon support, thank you for holding on to that. And yeah, anybody else that wants to support me and you're into Patreon, yeah, you could sign up with my Patreon. It doesn't really give any extra perks or anything. I don't do any specific activities for it, but it's just a good way to support me, and I could really use that. but it's just a good way to support me. Support me. What the hell is that? Everybody's on Monday. I don't know if anybody really expected me to like make a whole bunch of items about the Artemis situation. I've not really done that. There's tons of other people that have like made elaborate videos about it. I've just not been one of those people. Because it's also freaking boring to me. Obviously, CGI, it's like it's Photoshop because it had to be. But then, like, Quantum Conscious had like this perception, like, wait, so it's eclipsing the sun. Why can we then see the Earth? Why isn't it all covered in shadow? Isn't like where's that light coming from? How is that light hitting the Earth and hitting your eyes? And like, that's a good point. Hadn't even thought of that, but I mean that makes no sense in that photo. Like it's nuts that they did that and said it was real. It's pretty crazy. The trails out there, but despite that, it's I mean, there's a lot of trails out there, but despite that, it's still such a beautiful day. It's amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of talk here in Germany and also in the Netherlands about frickin' drafts for the army here. Just stupid. I guess they just that will be like against Russia and like fuck off, man. Just piss off. Like I literally don't even understand why we're at war. It makes no sense. It just doesn't. I slop. Hilarious. What? All right. Yeah. He's scrolling. No real news items are suddenly popping into my feed. It's pretty much I've been discussing. It's appreciated today's show. I mean, do my best to make sense of things. Rogan's it up, and if you haven't already, follow me here on Rumble and be here when I'm going live, which is normally 2 p.m. Amsterdam time every day. And please also do support gift card, PayPal, Patreon, Gifts and Go. Links are all in the description box below, or send me super chat over at the Rumble live chat when the show is live, or subscribe to my channel and support me that way. Any support would be greatly appreciated. Can really use it. Right, I'll be back tomorrow with Platter.